Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. Lots of action happening for the Mercury sector right now. We've got Mercury on August 10th and the final degrees of Leo coming into an opposition with Jupiter. And they're going to have their little face-off, and then Mercury's going to move on into Virgo. So lots of stuff happening for Mercury, our planet of communication, the way that we process and articulate our information. And we know that our natal Mercuries are a little more influenced by whatever Mercury is doing right now. So let's break it down. So Mercury is going to first start off in Leo in an opposition with Jupiter. We know that Mercury is pretty confident in Leo. You know, I've seen Mercury in Leos. They may not have a ton of experience, but boy, do they sound confident, you know? That's something that Leo, or really any fire sign, is really good at, is being able to convey a sense of confidence. So Mercury in Leo is really kind of amplifying that, boosting that, hyping themselves up, and lending all of us a little bit more confidence when we speak, so we can sound like we know, like we have even more credentials behind us. Mercury in Leo, if you watch my original video, it's a readiness to talk about yourself. You know, there's a lot more willingness to share about your personal experience and being able to speak up and get your foot in the door, get your foot in the conversation. There's a great deal of a desire to tell personal stories and relate your ideas and opinions where you're coming from. That is going to be amplified right before Mercury leaves, because Mercury will be in this opposition with Jupiter. And this kind of configuration is one of those things where you might overshare, you might not think before you speak. It's one of those configurations where in a birth chart, I have one, not in these signs, but your mouth can kind of get you into trouble sometimes because you're speaking from a place of passion. You know, Mercury in Leo opposite Jupiter in Aquarius. There's something you feel really passionately about and you're just not thinking it all through. You're not sure how it'll affect the group necessarily with Jupiter in Aquarius. So it's like one of those things where someone might blurt something out and it's misconstrued, or they didn't think about it. Like, think about all this stuff happening right now with DaBaby, and yeah, it's just like, you know, not making excuses for anyone, but it's one of those things where your mouth can get you into trouble. So that's the aspect that's happening right now on August 10th. And it's also extremely opinionated, this aspect. So that's something you definitely want to watch for. It's an optimal aspect for grabbing the soapbox, for speaking your truth, for telling a long-winded story, for including a ton of run-on sentences, for leaving voicemails that are so long that nobody listens to them, for writing. This is something, if you wanted to get a lot of writing done, you could do that. Or if you work in any kind of media, it's a time where you might feel extra inspired to just do a lot. Jupiter can sometimes be overdoing. So maybe we're overthinking, over-communicating, just saying too much, you know? And that's okay, because now on August 11th, Mercury enters Virgo. And Virgo is one of those signs where less is more, even though the brain is kind of going overtime in Virgo. We just had Mercury in Gemini not too long ago. And when Mercury's in its domicile, it really, really turns up the quickness of the gears in the brain. There's like a lot happening. When Mercury was in Gemini, I found it very hard to focus. We're going to have a little bit more focus here in Virgo. But you know, it's all about organizing and helping things to run a little bit more efficient. Mercury, of course, is at home in Virgo. So it's all about organizational skills, putting those discerning and critical eyes to good use. You know, being able to say, well, this thing doesn't go here, it goes there. And that's a positive use of criticism, of using our critical eye and our discerning eye to organize things in an orderly way. The only trouble is that sometimes when Mercury, when Virgo is so heavily emphasized as it is now that we're going to have 3 personal planets in Virgo, there's this tendency to get lost in the minutia. There's this tendency to get lost in all the little details. So what I'm going to remind you is that if tunnel vision starts to distract you from the big picture and you're spending hours organizing the drawers and the shelves in your office and you haven't gotten your work done, take a step back. What's the big picture? What are you here? Why are you here? And so that's can be like a good reminder when there's a lot of Virgo planets is, what are we really doing here? Let's take a step back. Why do I want to improve this? Why does this thing that feels out of place bother me so much? So so Mercury in Virgo, excellent for editing, excellent for cleaning, excellent. I think Virgo is such a fabulous placement for any kind of ritual work because it really helps you think about all the little details about arrangement and the procuring of materials and the cleanliness and the order in which you do things. And so I find that this can be really beautiful placement for magical work. And also just like tending to your altar, tending to your space, tending to your work. Mercury, of course, adding to Virgo. Now, Mars and Venus, who are already in Virgo, answer to Mercury, and now Mercury's in Virgo and can be so much of a better help. So this time we may be finding ourselves being called toward our craft a little bit more and fine-tuning our craft. Virgo is a sign that wants to perfect and to improve and to implement systems that utilize all of our skills in the most efficient way. So I don't know, with everything kind of going back a little bit in the world where we're all being encouraged to wear masks again and things like that, I think the Virgo placements are really great for cleanliness, making sure that things are clean and sanitary, that we're carrying our Purell again, that we're wearing the masks again, and also, carving out more spaces for hermiting and being able to work on ourselves, read the books and do the crafts and practice. So that's a little bit about Mercury making the shift into Virgo from Leo. And that was your astrology shot of the day. Thank you so much for joining me today. For more astrology in your world, you can connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, or Patreon at AstroCatherine. You can also book your reading with me. I got all kinds to choose from. Or study astrology with me. Timing and Transits is our predictive module, and it begins in September. You can find out more on my website.